Welcome in, Big Blue Nation, to another episode of the Cats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Johnston, joined by my co-host today, Jacob Boyers. Jacob, we didn't really know what to look for in this Eastern Illinois game. We knew it was going to be a dragging of sorts. Obviously, a 46-point win for the Cats in what really couldn't take too many storylines away from this game. Tallest player on Eastern Illinois was 6'7", so you expected the team to win and win by a lot. Got a lot of rebounds, out-rebounded them by a huge, huge margin. I think that was the biggest difference in this game. Just checking with you, was there anything that you wanted to see in this game that you didn't see? Were there things that surprised you in this game? What did you get out of this Eastern Illinois game?
Not really. I mean, they came out and took care of business. I think that's kind of the only thing I was looking forward to. Yeah, I mean, just after Tuesday night, I don't know if there was a whole lot that could have went one way or another that would have made me feel, good or worse about this team. And, they came out, handled business, won by 46. It was really never close. It wasn't like, the Nichols game where they hang around for a little bit. You come out, get a huge lead early, and then never look back. So for me, it was just getting out of there easily and, no more injuries after the week we've had. So that was kind of the big thing for me.
Yeah, and you mentioned the injuries. Can we stop with these shoulders? Like, I mean, for the love of God, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how this keeps happening. I don't know what the issue is. Is there something in practice? What are we doing? Are we too physical in practice? I don't think that's the case because we weren't physical in that Louisville game. So if so, something's not translating. But you mentioned it. Just bad news all around on Jalen Lowe. I mean, as of recording, we're recording this Monday at 8:04. Still have not gotten word on whether they're going to end up doing season-ending surgery for Jalen Lowe or if he's going to pressure through it kind of like Lamont Butler did last year. But it is weird to have back-to-back seasons in which your starting point guard basically goes through the exact same injury.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, Cam, but I fully don't expect Jalen Lowe to play again this year, unfortunately. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think it's a much different situation, obviously, than Lamont last year. Lamont, he knew his college basketball days were done, regardless if he had that, surgery or tough through it. I think it's a little bit of a different situation. I think Jalen Lowe's got to look at the bigger picture for himself and not just this particular season. I mean, there's a world we could, if he does have the surgery, we could have him in Lexington for the next 2 years. So I just think he's got to look at the bigger picture for himself. And, if he does power through it and play through it, I'll have a ton of respect for the kid. But I just don't expect that to kind of be the outcome in the news.
I mean, I really don't lean one way or the other on what to expect. I feel like if they were going to shut it down for the season, you would have heard of that by now. I also feel like if he was going to give it a go, you probably would have heard of it by now. So it is kind of weird how long it has taken because we got that news on Wednesday of last week, Thursday of last week that he ran into Mo Diabate and this was going to require surgery at some point, whether it's going to be in the offseason or during the season. I'm kind of with you. If I had to put my money down on one spot, I expect not to see him for the rest of this year. But you kind of mentioned it. I mean, with the way he's getting, we don't know the salary mark that he's making, but you can assume that he's making a good amount of money to redshirt this year and potentially have another 2 years in college basketball, even if they're not both in Lexington. I think is something that would be huge for him because I don't necessarily think he's got that NBA ceiling to where he's going to be, a high day one pick or a day one pick in general. But another 2 years in college, he's going to get this money from Kentucky this year and from somebody for the next year and a half, 2 years after that. So, yeah, if I was a betting man, I'd probably put money on Jalen Lowe not playing this year either.
Yeah, I just think, it's easy for fans to say oh, he should try to go. One, you don't know what level of pain he's in, right? I mean, to be absolutely miserable for 4 months, and let's say not even 100% in the player that we expect. I mean, we saw how much it affected Lamont Butler last year, and that was on his non-shooting shoulder. This is,
I think you got it flipped.
Yeah, I got it flipped. You're right. Yeah, that was.
But still, yeah.
You don't really know how much it's going to affect him, and to have him be in severe pain for the next 4 months and playing through it and know that anytime he goes for a ball, it could pop out again and, potentially even do more damage. I think, honestly, the better decision for him would be to shut it down. But, I mean, the guy's a competitor, and that's probably why it's taken him almost a week to make this decision, as he wants to, I'm sure no real competitor wants to sit out for 4 months, but to your point of the red shirt, he's got a chance to make more money. We also don't know. There's a lot of these of the 22 million we've talked about. A lot of that was probably reported. There were a couple guys that got 2-year deals. I would assume Lowe, if those were the case, he would have been one of those two, or one of those ones that got the 2-year deal. So I think the plan was always for him to be in Lexington for at least 2 seasons. So, yeah, would this team be a completely different team without him? Yes. But again, I think he's just got to look at the bigger picture and on to next year.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned the 2-year plan, and I think that's probably the reason that Caden Lewis isn't in Kentucky blue and white. He's out there at Villanova right now, playing pretty well. And boy, I kind of wish we had him now. But obviously, he didn't want to compete with Jasper and with Jalen, so he's out there in Villanova, not necessarily killing it, but he's doing a good job. But the one thing that I haven't heard is I know they were going to get a second opinion on the shoulder. Haven't heard any reporting from that. I don't know if you have either, but I don't. Can playing through this make it worse? I genuinely don't know. Like, I haven't heard anything on whether this is something that it's going to require surgery no matter how bad it gets. And at that point, it's probably just a game by game, like how much pain's he in? Because there were some games where you looked at Lamont and you thought he was going to be good to go, didn't play. I'm guessing the pain tolerance was just too high. So I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard anything on that. I don't know if you've heard anything.
No, and the other thing is, you don't really know if it pops out again. Does that make it worse? Is it if he continues to go on it and everything goes perfect, he'll be okay. But then if it gets re-aggravated, it could be worse. I really haven't heard anything, and it is really surprising. I think a lot of people. I'm actually scrolling through Jeff Goodman's Twitter right now to see if he provided any updates since the last tweet on Friday. But I think everybody kind of thought you would have an answer by Friday afternoon, and here we are Monday night, and still in kind of the same limbo.
Yeah, and I've got to assume, obviously, he's not playing on Tuesday night against Michigan State, but I would assume that's going to be one of the first questions that Pope is going to be asked post game, win or loss, is what Jalen's status is going to be.
You would have to imagine. And I don't know, do they just kind of keep letting this drag out, or?
I hope not. They're letting one storyline drag out, and it's just getting worse and worse.
I kind of think we're going to hear tomorrow, probably before the game, because they're going to have to officially roll him out for tomorrow. So I just think, I would have to imagine before tip off tomorrow, we know one way or another of he's going to try to be back in a couple weeks and play through it, or he's going to shut it down.
Yeah, well, it's not a good time to lose him. I don't think there is going to be a good time to lose the guy who you were handing the keys to the offense on. And we saw, I mean, granted, it was only that first 4 minutes against Louisville, but that first 4 minutes that he was in, even the first 4 possessions, I mean, you saw what this thing can click like when he's right and when he's going. It was a back-to-back lobs in his first 2 possessions. Granted, definitely didn't finish the game how you would like, missing the front end of the 1-and-1, taking a pull-up contested 3 and stepping out of bounds. But I think you did see the vision and why Coach Pope brought in Jalen Lowe, even if we might have seen him for the last time this season. That means guys are going to have to step up. I think even more, than Denzel Aberdeen, it means a guy like Jasper Johnston is really going to have to step up, and you're really going to have to thrust him into action a lot quicker than I think we thought we were going to see him.
Yeah, Jasper's going to have to play a lot, and you're going to need him to be a lot better than what you saw from Travis Perry a year ago. Because that's going to be, I mean, that's the exact role he's going to get thrown into, because there's really not another option on this roster currently. The idea of having Colin Chandler be the backup, we've seen how that looks. It doesn't work, and Colin's been so good this year at the 2. I don't think you want to do anything to disrupt, his ability. And I do feel confident with Denzel running the point for the majority of the game, but like you need it's really got to be Jasper. There's nobody else it can be. You're going to need him to be a viable option and a viable backup. And, there's going to be games where Aberdeen gets in foul trouble or something, and you can only play him, 15 to 20 minutes one night, and you're going to need really solid minutes out of Jasper.
Yeah, and I think the real question is, and the thing that I'll be most interested to see come Tuesday night, is what is this starting five looking like? Is it going to be the same one that we ran out there against Eastern Illinois, where it's just Denzel put in there for Jalen, or are we going to try and run smaller ball, get Brandon Garrison out of the starting lineup? The only bad thing is I think this might be the first game in which you've looked at on the season, and it's probably a game where BG can probably play pretty well in this one. I mean, Michigan State doesn't really like to get out on the run, doesn't move the ball too quick. I think this might be a game in which Brandon Garrison and Mo Diabate can actually help you and play a good amount because Michigan State doesn't shoot threes well. I mean, they're a good athletic team, but they don't shoot threes well, don't really get out that quickly in transition. I think this might actually be a game in which you can get by without Jalen Lowe, but I don't know. You know my thoughts on Brandon Garrison. I think we're going to dive into him a little bit more here, but I don't see why he's currently starting, even with JQ not being healthy. I don't think he deserves 19 minutes a game like he's getting currently.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of Malachi. I thought he played well again Friday night. He's shown you a lot that you haven't seen out of BG to this point. I would be surprised if Pope makes that switch here in this spot.
Yeah.
Um, I think BG is going to get a longer leash. I don't expect it to go on all season if he continues to play like this, but I do think he's going to get more than 4 games at that starting spot. So I expect the exact same lineup out there. And, I know Ortega didn't look great again. I still expect him to be better. I do think on paper you're starting 3 guards with Aberdeen, Ortega, and Colin Chandler should be pretty good. And I think you can compete with a lot of teams, not just in the SEC, but in the country with those 3 guards. It's the issue now is what do you do when someone's in foul trouble or you go to your bench? What does that second unit look like?
Yeah. And I kind of want to just talk on Ortega because outside of even just us, I mean, I think he's been getting ripped on just about every other podcast platform I think I've heard, in which honestly, I kind of expected us to be one of the ones ripping on him the most. And we were just kind of right in the middle there. So, hey,
Yeah,
all I'm saying
I'm
is,
still holding out a lot of hope. I still think we're going to see better days from Ortega ahead.
yeah, I mean, I hope so too. And I think a lot of it starts with this game because I think this is a game that, especially now with Jalen, who is that ball dominant point guard who we like to get a lot of the offense run through, this is where you're going to need Ortega. I think you're going to need him to step up. I don't think you can rely on another 20-plus point per game from Denzel Aberdeen. I don't think that's something you can rely on game in and game out. So you're going to have to get scoring opportunities from Ortega, whether that be in transition or in the half court if we're getting stopped and not getting shots up quick. But my thing is, if we're going to have the ball in Ortega's hands, he's got to become a better facilitator. That's something that I feel like he's really lacked the ability to do since he's been at Kentucky. Obviously, didn't watch a ton of them at Oklahoma, but I would imagine it was that way there too. That's my
I
biggest concern is that he's
Yeah.
so ball dominant. He needs the ball in his hands, and he just can't make plays out of that. And again, this was what I said in the preseason. This is what I said all last year. So this is not me looking, 4 games into the season and trying to be early on the call. I don't know, man. I think this team is better offensively, and since he's not giving you that step up defensively right now, I think this team is better defensively with him not on the floor either. And I think this is the game. We mentioned how we wanted to see it against Louisville. Well, you saw the exact opposite of what you wanted to see from Ortega. And even in this game against Eastern Illinois, like if you would have told me this was the preseason SEC Player of the Year, I would not have believed you. He got quick 6 points on, I think it was 3 straight possessions that were all off of steals or block shots or long rebounds, all in transition. Outside of that, he was basically a non-factor. And for an SEC Player of the Year nominee to score 12 points against Eastern Illinois with your starting point guard out and your team to score 99 points, is crazy. I haven't seen the Oklahoma Otega, which granted we only saw it twice last year, but I really do feel like we got to see more from him. And I think this game against Michigan State is one that is tailor suited to his game. Like that Louisville game, that was not set up for Otega's success. He's not. It's just not a game for him. This one, it is. He's got to take advantage of it. And I think we can look at the box score at the end of this game, look at Otega's turnover margin and what he shot from the field, how many threes he shot, and I think we'll have a pretty good idea of who won the game.
Yeah, you kind of stole what I was about to say. I fully expect this to be a big bounce back kind of game for Otega. I think it's the kind of game he can play in. I'm fully expecting 20 plus out of him. I think it's going to be a game where we sit back and feel like he played really well, and I'm going to predict us to win. And I think in part it's going to be because I expect a really nice game out of Otega. I know the last time we did an MVP pick for a big game, I was way off. So
just a little bit, just a little bit.
I've said I'm not concerned if Otega comes out and plays similar to how he did against Louisville. I will have the panic button on the table on Otega for the rest of the year.
Yeah, So the thing is, I think Otega should have a good game in this one. I think I mentioned a good amount of reasons why I think he should have a little bit of a bounce back and kind of calm Big Blue Nation down a little bit with all the concerns that have been arose from his play. I don't know if I see 20 coming from him, though. I mean, this Michigan State team so far, I mean, they've already played UConn. Granted, that was an exhibition. They played Arkansas, who have long, lengthy athletic guards. They have yet to allow 70 points to any team. So, I mean, this is a good defensive team. I don't see where Otega gets 20 points. I think if Kentucky's going to win this game, this is actually going to be one where you have to see their transition defense step up and half-court defense. And this is what Mark Pope brought a lot of these guys like Mo Diabate, like Denzel Aberdeen. This is why a lot of these guys are here. And if this is what you're going to build your team around in the offseason, these are games that you need to win because we know Pope can coach offense. We know he can get – we just scored 99 against Eastern Illinois, and we had 13 turnovers. Didn't even really look all that good. We know he can coach up the offense side of the ball. He's gotten the defensive pieces. At what point does that become a concern if we can't stop? Obviously, Louisville is a great team. 96 points. I think that's something you're probably going to see from them a good amount of times going through the season. I feel like we also need to stop the skid a little bit. Didn't play well against Georgetown defensively. Didn't play well against Louisville defensively. You got to stop the skid at 2, and you got to go out. A Michigan State team who can't shoot well, they cannot have – honestly, I think I'll probably be disappointed if they score anything over 75 points. If they score anything over 75 points, I think I'm going to start hitting some more panic bells, and it might be more than just on these players.
Yeah, they're not even shooting a lot of threes. Like, they have one of the lowest, 3-point take rates out there in all of college basketball. So it's definitely going to be a game where I think our offense doesn't look as well as it has in the past, but, defensively, I'm with you. Like, Michigan State's just not going to score. I actually think this game's going to set up and play a lot like the Purdue game. I that's fully how I expect this to go. Michigan State's going to try to slow everything down. And, I see a score of like low 70s to, mid 60s, somewhere in that ballpark. And I just think a big game from Otega. I do think this team is still good defensively. Even in the last 10 minutes against Louisville, when they finally flipped it on and had like good intensity, the defense was much better. And that's something that gives me hope. Like that Louisville game, I know there's a lot to criticize about it. And one of the biggest things being that it felt like they weren't up for it to start the game. But I do think this team still has the makeups to, I'm not going to say be like an elite defense like we've seen at this school in the past, but I do think it's going to be significantly better than a year ago by the time we're, in February.
Yeah, think about last year's team. How bad they started off defensively, and towards the end of the year, actually grew into a somewhat solid defensive team. Jalen Lowe's not a good defensive player. So, if you want to take something good out of that potential injury, maybe it's that. Maybe it's you get better defenders on the floor, and you can find ways to not get abused in such pick and roll situations like they did with Michael Brown and Ryan Conwell whenever they got like BG and Ortega when they were together on a pick and roll. I mean, that was a guaranteed bucket. And same thing with BG and Jalen Lowe. So hopefully, at the least, I don't think Michigan State has guards that are nearly on that level, and that's what's given us the most problems so far this year. So I think that you mentioned the adjustments we made towards the very back end of that Louisville game. I think with some of those that we've had, I think we should win this game against Michigan State. But then again, I mean, we drop these random games against physical teams. I mean, look at the Ohio State game last year. I really don't know what I'm going to pick. But I do want to talk a little bit more about the Eastern Illinois game and what we did, because we do need to get to the in-depthness of that, because it was a mixed bag. It really was. There was parts that I looked at and I saw Jasper Johnston finish the game with 7 assists. I like some of the plays that he made, but then I also look at him. The 2 turnovers that he had were abysmal, and this is against a team in which the tallest guy on the floor is 6'7". He was only 3 of 7 from the field. I think Jasper had a good game, and I think he can develop into a really good player for this team. I don't think it's going to be at the point guard. I really don't. I don't think Jasper's a 1, and that's why I'm as concerned with this Jalen Lowe injury as I think I could be. I love Jasper's upside. I think we're going to come to look at Jasper almost more in that Colin Chandler mold where he has to be the 2. And I genuinely don't know if we can rely on Denzel Aberdeen to be the 1 for 30-plus minutes a game.
Well, you're gonna have to probably do both. There's
why I'm uneasy.
Yeah, there's not really a world out there where you have any other option. I don't know. Unless they pull a BYU and go sign a G League player next week and have him here. I just I don't know what else you do. I don't know what the other options are. Maybe you can find a way to get Stokes to reclassify and come in here, but I don't see it.
That's not going to help you really either. That crowds up another spot. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Jasper's going to have to play point and be a viable option for it.
I mean,
who knows? Maybe we've.
What do you think about what you've seen so far from Jasper running the 1? I know it's been in some. We didn't see it against Louisville, obviously, really at all. You saw it a little bit against Eastern Illinois. You've seen it for periods against Georgetown and Purdue. You saw it for points in those. From what you've seen, do you think I'm just far out in left field thinking he needs to be a 2, or do you think he's got the ability to be a 1? Because he still did have 7.
I mean, he definitely. I definitely think his natural position is the 2, but I do think you're better off trying him at the 1 right now than going back and saying you're going to put Colin Chandler back there when Aberdeen's out. So I don't know. I mean, time will tell, right? That's the thing. We're going to have potentially an entire season of this, and it could be something that Jasper grows into. These next 2-3 weeks could be really painful to watch, and by the time we get to the end of December, we're like, man, he's really kind of developed into a better decision maker and a better. He's going to be a guy that when he's out there at the 1, though, he's going to make plays that we're going to be like, oh, nice pass, finding a guy for a backdoor cut, nice step back 3, and then there's also going to be 5 or 6 plays a game where we're screaming at the TV, what are you doing? It's going to be the full Jasper Johnston experience, and playing the 1, he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot more.
Yeah, and don't be wrong. I want to preface this because I don't want anybody clipping us here. We're all in on Jasper. I just didn't think it was going to be this early. I thought we were going to have a lot of time for Jasper to be able to cook. And who knows? We're talking about Jalen Lowe is actually out for the season. We don't know that entirely yet. Of course, that's just our guess. But did like what I saw from him against Eastern Illinois, and the shot is coming along, and it is looking a little bit better. He's getting a little bit more arc on there. I don't know if you noticed in the first couple of games, man. I think it was a flat line drive. It looked like Noel V. Marte just hitting a piss missile right into the right field stands. I mean, that's what it looked like there for a while, but starting to get a little bit more arc on there, and I think we will be able to run Jasper at the point. I just don't know if we're going to be able to do it for 20 minutes a game. So between the two, you just can't have Denzel Aberdeen getting in foul trouble is what it's looking like. At no
Yeah,
at no point can Denzel get in foul trouble, and I think that's kind of where we're at now. But I do want to mention we talked about what a lackluster game we thought Mo Diabate had against Louisville. He comes back out and answers
big bounce
that.
back.
Granted, again, preface this by saying Eastern Illinois center was 6'7". He did have 20 points, 11 rebounds on 8 of 9 shooting, with an assist, 2 steals, and 2 block shots. So he was all over the stat sheet. And I thought Mo Diabate really did bounce back. And like I mentioned, I think this Michigan State game is going to be one where I think he should be all in for. I think this is a game that suits his talents, and I think this is a game that suits the three people who are most critical of his talents the most: Ortega, Mo Diabate, and Brandon Garrison. I actually expect, as crazy as it is to hear me say, because I feel like I've been so negative on the three so far, I feel like this is going to be a big bounce back game for all of them with Michigan State coming up.
Yeah, Mo was obviously huge in this. 20 and 11. Um, it was nice to kind of just see him answer the bell again. This was a game that I wasn't going to really feel one way or the other about it, but obviously you'd rather have him come out and score 20 than not. But it was pretty clear early that he could kind of do whatever he wanted with his physicality. And, it's not like Mo's a super tall guy, but he plays almost bigger than he is, and he uses his strength and physicality to his advantage. And, he kind of got whatever he wanted, especially it felt like there in the first half. I don't know what it was exactly, but it felt like those first few possessions were just all Mo Diabate.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And, we're talking about like guys in which you need to get the ball in their hands. Which of these bigs right now, classifying Mo as a big, do you think you feel the most comfortable with if we do have to go more to that last season Amari Williams running through the center option? Which of these guys have you felt the most comfortable with? Because I
I
don't know if I lean one way or another right now through that.
I
I
think
would say Mo, but we haven't seen it yet so far this season.
yeah. That's kind of how I feel. Like I want to say I lean towards Mo, but I also kind of think like Malachi's been better than I kind of thought, even as a passer. I'm not going to act like he's Amari Williams or anything crazy, but
No
I
one is.
yeah,
No one is.
but
I miss Amari. I love that guy.
but like I would actually kind of feel confident every time we give the ball at the top of the key or whatever to Malachi to make a decision. I trust him a lot more than I trust BG.
I don't think that's saying all that much.
But so I guess to answer your question, Mo slightly, but Malachi I think is kind of right there.
Yeah, and I think I'm with you, and I actually think that this is not a great game for me to make this point, but I think you did see spots in which Yelovich can make good bounce passes
Yeah,
and good passes,
they look
backdoor,
good.
stuff like that. Because he did have 3 turnovers in this game and no assists. So this is a bad time for me to be making this case. But I do think Yelovich can be that guy going forward as well. I mean, he had a really good game, 11 points, 7 rebounds in only 16 minutes. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from him and Cam Williams as of late. I think those are
Yep.
two guys that we mentioned that how they were both kind of lottery tickets for us. And, you're just hoping to hit one scratch off and, we're feeling really good. And one person I just don't think you can do it. Brandon Garrison is not the Amari Williams replacement. You
No.
thought with him learning from him all year last year, having that full offseason to develop, we hear about Coach Pope's second year jumps all the time. You thought that was going to be one of them. But Brandon Garrison in this one had 4 turnovers to only 1 assist. And that's with having a 6-inch height difference on their tallest player. And the part that concerns me the most is how in the world in 19 minutes does he only grab 4 rebounds? Like, I genuinely don't understand it. Like, if there was any time where Brandon Garrison's like, I'm going to go ahead and get me a double-double real quick. Like, that against Eastern Illinois was the game. I mean, we out-rebounded them 49-17. And Brandon Garrison, your starting center, only gave you 5 of those.
Yeah, we talked about that. I feel like at nauseum last year, right? Like he would play 20 minutes and
And
we're like,
nothing's
he
changed. Like,
grabbed
I
he
don't get it.
grabbed
This
he grabbed
McDonald's
2 rebounds.
All-American.
At the end of the day, he's the player he is. And I gotta believe at some point Pope's gonna really realize that, and especially if Malachi keeps playing as well as he is, there's not gonna be a reason to not make that switch. And eventually when JQ comes back, I mean, Garrison, I think, is going to have a hard time getting off the bench.
Yeah, we keep mentioning like a lot of these guys are having to play earlier than we thought they were going to have to, and it seems like that's just for the ride. This happened last year with Coach Pope. Guys had to play earlier than we envisioned them to. Travis Perry, Trent Noah, those guys.
Yep.
Even Kobe Brea was thrusted into a bigger role earlier than we thought he was going to be. Same thing with Otega. And now you're looking at guys like Jasper and Malachi, who we expected to have roles on this team, but I don't think we expected Malachi to be playing 20 minutes already this early in the season. At least, I don't know if you did. I kind of expected Yelovich to have a little bit more of a role. Same thing with Cam Williams. But you mentioned, I mean, BG's just got to fight for a spot here. I mean, he's already to the point where a true freshman's taking over his minutes. You know what you're getting from JQ if he's healthy when he comes back. And then you're talking about a 21-year-old guy who's playing professional basketball is going to start getting cohesion with his team. I don't know how we're looking at a month from now, 2 months from now, when JQ's healthy and he's getting more than 10 minutes, unless something really changes over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and the thing, though, I will say, you're talking about these guys getting thrusted into roles sooner than expected. The one difference between like what we're now going to expect with Jasper and Travis and Trent last year is, I will say, like, I kind of just feel like Malachi Moreno is just earning it. Like, he's putting you in a position where, like, you can't keep him off the floor. It's not like a couple big men got hurt and now, you're thrusting him into this role. Like, he's earning those minutes, and I think he deserves to get more of those BG minutes. We know how Pope likes to play pretty much as big, split right in half and 20 and 20. So it will be interesting to see where Brandon Garrison fits in once, JQ comes back, because you're not going to want to keep JQ off the floor. And I think Malachi has earned to, continue to play 18 to 20 minutes a game at minimum.
Yeah, let's just say this. I spent probably a collective 60 hours last year complaining about the split down the middle and BG and Amari getting about the same minutes. I don't want to spend another 60 hours doing it this year. Like, when Malachi is getting his and JQ's healthy, squeeze Brandon Garrison's role. Because guess what? You mentioned, I mean, you probably get the best effort from him when you give him in like those 4-minute spells. It seems like anytime he plays more than that, he's just lost out there. He's not giving you any sort of full effort, anything like that. But I'll agree with you. I do think Malachi has earned the role that he's getting, and the only problem is I don't think BG's pushing for that, which I wish he kind of would have.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I didn't have super high hopes coming into the year on BG just because of, what we saw a year ago. But, like, he is absolutely shown you nothing, really. And, it's a shame. The difference, I think, between him and Otega is, like, Otega, you saw it last year being a guy that scored, 16 a game and was your leading scorer and this and that. At least you had a whole season of him being a consistent, really good player outside of a handful of games, whereas BG, you never really saw it. There was a moment or two, and now you're 4 games in, 6 including the 2 preseason games, and he has given you nothing. He's the exact same player, just playing more minutes in a bigger role.
Yeah, and I do want to ask you, because I want to set the ground before we start the game on Tuesday at 6:30. What's the stat line that you want to see from Otega Oweh? Do you feel like, okay, we can start to count on and rely on Otega more, and we don't have to have these conversations, it feels like, game in and game out, where we're asking what's wrong with Otega? What's wrong with Double O? What happened to the guy from last year? What happened to the preseason SEC Player of the Year? What kind of stat line do you want to see against Michigan State? Because I don't think it can look like it did against Eastern Illinois, which was 12 points, 2 rebounds, and 3 assists. I think he's got to have to give you more.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know if there's like a particular stat line, like
Just
with
want to see the
Otega.
effort.
Yeah, like it's the effort. Obviously, it's him. I don't want to see him settling for jump shots. I want to see him, when the opportunities arrive, for him to get to the basket, draw contact, get to the free throw line, make a couple and ones. But I mean, if he goes out there and gives you, I don't know, anywhere from 15 to 18 and grabs 4 rebounds along with it, and maybe makes a couple nice passes to get 3 or 4 assists, I think you'd feel really good. The other thing is, I want to see him get a couple steals, and I think that just gets him engaged on the defensive side. if he gets an early one or two, I do feel like those were the games where he played the best defensively last year. It almost kind of locks him in. If he can get his own steal that leads to like a run out, it just kind of puts him in a better frame of mind. So that's really, for me, the effort. And then I don't want to see him fall back into a jump shooter that appears that he's playing just to try to show NBA scouts something. Like, I want to see him be the player we saw for 90% of the season a year ago.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw how many times he tried the jump passing lanes against Louisville. Tried to do a lot in this Eastern Illinois game. Just seems like he hasn't been successful on them yet, which,
Yeah.
being honest, I feel like he probably got 4 points a game from just jumping passing lanes last year and getting out in transition.
Probably right.
And hopefully you're right. I think this is a game for him to do that. And something that just popped in my head, I kind of want to run this by you. Keep in mind, this is just as you were speaking.
Oh, God.
A player comp for Otega Owe.
Do I have one? I don't know.
Have one.
Okay, tell me.
Player comp. If you were to guess who I'm thinking? What would you say? Anything?
I have no idea. I don't know where you're going to go with it. Archie Goodwin?
No, I don't think he has. He's not as shifty. He's not as athletic as Archie. I'm going Isaiah Briscoe minus the passing ability. That's where I'm going with Otega Owe. I think they're similar players, similar.
I think Otega's better.
I mean,
it's not like
we hope so.
Yeah.
I think Otega has the ability to be a lot better defensively than Briscoe did. I think he has more shiftiness side to side. I do think they were both those downhill, get in the lane. I think he's a better finisher. Otega is.
He's a better free throw shooter.
He doesn't have that ability to pass out of it. Just kind of wanted to run that by you because it just fully popped in my head right there.
Yeah, I think even what you saw from Otega last year was a lot better than anything you ever saw from Briscoe. And I liked Briscoe. I thought he was really good as like a third, fourth option. But Otega, I think, shoots free throws better. I mean, neither one of them obviously.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, sure.
I mean, Briscoe shot what, like 50% through like.
I don't know how.
Yeah, it was not good, and so yeah, I don't know. I mean, I see where you're coming from, but yeah, I think Otega's a better player than Briscoe. I mean, even this year, I think through the 4 games and as bad as Otega's played, I think if you got that from Isaiah Briscoe, you'd be like, wow, those are some impressive games there from him. So
I don't know. I feel like Briscoe's getting a little slighted here. I wasn't even a Briscoe fan. I thought you were going to be more on Team Briscoe there. But, Jake, I want to ask you, before you kind of wrap up on what to expect against Michigan State in Madison Square Garden, what do you want to see from this team? Like, we've mentioned this, I get that, but I want to talk a little bit more in depth, give the people a little bit more knowledge. Outside of, we want to see Otega and BG, I think for that matter, bring the effort to this game. It is in Madison Square Garden. There are going to be a lot of NBA scouts. Do you think we see the Otega that reverts to the Louisville game, or do you think Pope's had a talk with him? You think we get that downhill thrasher? And what do you want to see from this Kentucky team as a whole to get a win on Tuesday?
Yeah, I do. I've already said it. I expect Otega to have a much better game and look like the Otega we saw for a lot of last season.
20+. Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, outside of that, who's going to step up off the bench? I think one of Cam Williams, Trent Noah, or Yelovich will have a really big game, and there'll be a guy that when we get on here in a few days and we're talking about it, we're going to be singing their praises. So, I mean, outside of a win, that's just kind of what I want to see. I want to see the team obviously be better defensively. I don't even think you have to be that good to look better defensively against this Michigan State team. So just find a way to win, have Otega look a little better, and then which of the guys off the bench I think is really just kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think for me it's just take care of the basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about 14 turnovers against Louisville, 13 against Eastern Illinois, 7 of which came from Yelovich and Brandon Garrison. Like, how do we have our bigs turning the ball over that much? So I think a big emphasis is going to be put on what Denzel Aberdeen can bring to the team. I don't necessarily need him to have that 25 that he had against Louisville, but I think we do need him to take care of the ball, have a little bit more assists. And I think the biggest X factor in this game is probably going to be what you get from Jasper Johnson when Denzel does need to get a break. Because I think Michigan's going to pressure him. I really do. I think they've seen, what he's brought so far in the early season. I think they're going to bring pressure at him, especially with some of their experienced guards that they have. I'm looking for a big game from Jasper, looking for the two guards to step up with the Jalen Lowe news that you just got.
Yeah.
I think that's a way in which you can win this game. Because I actually think you mentioned who you're getting off the bench. I feel good about the bench. I'm actually worried about the starters. At least for me, the starting lineup is where I'm worried. Specifically, the three guys who can't shoot being out there at the same time. That worries me. Let's see if we can catch lightning in a bottle and shoot a little better. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think Michigan State's going to make it hard for you to score a ton. That's going to be their identity. But when there's open shots, you got to knock them down because I don't think you're going to get a ton of just clean open looks against this team.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But all right, Jake.
I mean, again, they gave up 66 to Arkansas, and they run zero offense. So, you run a little bit, you could probably steal another 8 to 10 points there.
I'm not going to take any shots. I don't need to.
It's been a minute since we have, so just a quick one.
I'm trying to stop taking shots at John Calipari. But if you have any Brad Calipari ones you want to fire, I'll go with you if you want to go there. But no, Jake, I do kind of want to get your prediction here for the Champions Classic. What do you got happening for the Cats tomorrow night?
I said it. I think they win. I kind of, like I said, expect it to look more like the Purdue game with Michigan State probably scoring a little more. So my score, Cats are a 5.5-point favorite. I think they cover. I'm going to say 76. No, I'll go 75-66. Cats win by 9. With Ortega being the MVP, we talk about him having a big game in a couple of days.
I hope you're right, because I think Big Blue Nation needs a lot of what Ortega can offer. And I think right now it's been a little bit of a sour weekend. Even though you mentioned the 46-point win, it's been a little bit of a sour weekend around the basketball program. And who would have guessed? There's more positive vibes in the football program.
I'm all in on football. 7-5.
Why stop at 7-5? Let's go ahead and go 8. Let's get that bowl win too. But I think I'm there with you. I actually think this is probably going to be Michigan State's probably their highest scoring total they've had so far this year against at least a Power 4 program. I think Kentucky does find their way. It's probably going to be about 78. I think it's going to be a really close game, 78-74. It's going to be similar to what you said. I do think we allow a few more points. And I think my MVP pick for the game, man, I feel like this is a tough one. He's been so great so far in the early season. I mean, he was the BBN United tip-off presented by Kentucky Tourism MVP. You saw that nice basketball that he got.
Yep.
Didn't play too much against Eastern Illinois. Got the legs back under him. Nice and rested. He's still shooting, 55% from 3 this year.
Something crazy, yep.
I think a lot of the threes that we do get are going to be from Colin Chandler. And hopefully a lot of that is Otega Owe setting him up for those. Hopefully that is the reason he's getting some of those open looks. But I think Colin Chandler is probably going to be the MVP for this game. And I think he's probably going to be a big reason, both offensively and defensively, why the Cats can win this one.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, again, just go get a win. Can we get on a win streak in the Champions Classic? It's been a while. It felt like, we lost that every year with Cal, especially the last, since 2015 and on. So it'd be nice to have a little win streak in the Champions Classic.
Jake, so what you're saying is you want a win streak in men's basketball, women's basketball, Kentucky volleyball, and Kentucky football. You want all 4 to be on winning streaks?
Absolutely. I mean, why stop there? Let's start looking ahead to baseball and everything else coming up.
I'm right there with you. Obviously, I'm going to have trouble watching this game. It's going to be Kenny. You mentioned Kenny Brooks said that this game's going to be on at historic Memorial Coliseum for their matchup against Purdue. So I'm going to be doing a little double duty. So I'm going to lean on your expertise when we recap this game. I know everybody talks about it. Jacob Boyer's basketball expert.
I mean,
and we're
ball knower. I mean, that's what the kids call me. That's what they say.
This
So
guy is a real ball knower. And speaking of knowing ball, we got to talk about the 2026 Kentucky basketball recruiting class. Jake, at what point do we start to get concerned that we haven't landed any commitments? We know there are potentially some on the horizon. It feels like Tyron Stokes has been somewhat committed to the University of Kentucky for like 2 months, but nothing's happened. He got kicked out of his high school, and now he's landed at another high school. I think it's Rainier Beach is his new school. Christian Collins, we think commitment's coming from him here soon, but I feel like we're doing a lot of swinging and missing right now. We got kicked out of Darren Rippey's top 5. We're not on that. We've missed some other guys already going in this window. I mean, what are you thinking? Is there anything that
yeah,
you're really grabbing towards and leaning towards during this recruiting cycle?
yeah, I'm not gonna say I'm like super worried yet, but I am getting there at some point. Like these players aren't going to be there. It does feel like a lot of these guys are taking their commitments a little longer. I mean, Stokes was a guy, you mentioned it, I felt like for a while he was going to be a cat, but, now you're hearing some of the, character issues. Jeff Goodman's pretty much come out and flat out said, knowing Pope, that's just not going to be a good fit. If they miss out on Collins, then yeah, I obviously wouldn't feel great. So that's just kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, we're to the point now where you're looking and, I mean, you're thinking Jordan Smith. I know Baba alluded to. Obviously, we just mentioned we missed out on Darren Rippey, Christian Collins. I mean, you're really looking, and Tyron Stokes. Those are the only 4 guys that Kentucky's really even rumored to be in the mix. I know that there's not going to be a lot of turnover with this roster. I mean, you're going to obviously Denzel Aberdeen will have to leave. Otega Owe will have to leave. Those are going to be the only 2 seniors. So theoretically, there's only 2 spots that are going to open up. I'm concerned. I'll say it that. I mean, everything you hear about Tyron Stokes is the personality clash, like you mentioned. That's going to happen with Pope. And at what point, there's too many chances, too many. Like, I mean, this is now his second high school. I get he's the number 1 player in the class, and this is not a good class from everything that we've been told. This is a
Yep.
lackluster class, to say the least. But I think if you can find a way to get Christian Collins and even Caleb Holt, get those 2 guys
Yeah, you feel
before,
pretty good, I think.
yeah, or even Jordan Smith. I know we're rumored to him. I don't want to wait on the Tyron Stokes debacle of whatever's going on right now. I feel like if you can lock up Christian Collins, if you can lock up those other guys, go for it. We can do the rest in the transfer portal because
I think
from
they
everything
will.
you've heard, Tyron Stokes is just not a nice person, I guess would be the nice way to say it. I don't know. I mean, I've never met the kid, so I'm not going to say it for myself, but from everything you've heard and you've read, that's kind of the vibe that you get. And I mean, that's where I'm at with recruiting. So I don't know. I am pushing let's put it this way. There's you ever played Deal or No Deal? You've seen it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I wouldn't wait
They
on.
got the
I
button.
wouldn't wait on Stokes.
They got the button. They're asking me, I'm going to flip that thing open, but I'm not pressing the button yet on the panic. I flipped the box open to where I can get easy access to it, but I'm not hitting the panic button yet. But I am starting to get a little closer to hitting it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I don't think the coaching staff would wait on Stokes. If Collins is ready, I mean, it might even be the point where if they're both ready and you're only going to get one of them, with everything about Stokes, you might even take Collins right away. But I mean, the one thing about Stokes is, yeah, he may not have the best personality, but he could be the one dude in this class. So, if he wants to come, I think you try to make the personalities work however you can, and you bring them on in.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you think maybe a little bit of this has to do where if he doesn't go to Kentucky, he might just go to Louisville. And the reason that we're staying in this commitment so long, staying in this watch and this recruiting cycle for so long.
I mean, it could be. I don't know. I, I don't know what to make of the kid that gets kicked out of his high school, 2 days before his season starts and everything. So I don't know. Who knows what's going on? I mean, Oregon was obviously talked about a lot. I don't know if they're still super in the mix. So we'll see. I guess this is the best way to put it.
I mean, you've got guys like Joe Tipton who have no idea really what's going on. They know
Yeah.
Kentucky's the front runner, and that's about it. You mentioned at some point they were talking about him enrolling early. If I had to guess, I'm going to say Tyron's not the type of guy who we can get his academics rolled up a half a semester. If I had to guess, I mean, I could be
I think
wrong on
they've already said that. I think if he could have done it, he probably would have after his high school debacle. If he could
yeah.
have gotten in somewhere, he probably would be there right now.
Can you think of the things like, I mean, how many chances do you think you have to be able to get at a high school to where they kick the number one player in the nation out? Like what? How
I
many
would
things
imagine.
have
I would
happened behind
imagine it's a
doors
lot.
before that? Yeah. But obviously, I mean, we are fully on Christian Collins' watch. I think he's not scheduled to make a commitment anytime soon, but the rumor mill is that he's going to make something here soon. Obviously, we'll have you covered here on the Cats Talk podcast. Follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, on Spotify, wherever you get your media, wherever you get your content, we're there. Jake, I sent you a little screenshot of how global we are, man. What was that, like 14 countries?
Something crazy.
Yeah, we're out in 14 countries now. So if you're one of those 14 countries,
Worldwide.
we have Mr. Worldwide, I think is what they're going to start calling us when we walk into bars together. Well, that is all for the Cats Talk podcast. Hopefully, we get a win against Michigan State on Tuesday, and hopefully, the women take care of the Purdue Boilermakers. That's all for Cam and Jacob Boyers. Go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue.